Unauthorized access. That's what the SEC and Gary Gensler is claiming happened to the X account that tweeted a false report regarding Bitcoin ETF approvals. Tonight I want to discuss that a little bit. All right, so the story goes there's an SEC account which purported today that Bitcoin ETFs were approved. The language was very articulate. In fact, if you ask me, it looked very Genslerish in nature, almost as if it was an actual tweet that Gensler was going to put out tomorrow, but just hadn't done so, like it was in the draft box. Anywho, a couple minutes later, Gensler puts out another tweet claiming that somebody had unauthorized access to the SEC account in question and had put out this tweet. Now, I still don't know. I haven't checked the news yet, whether this is a hacked account or whether it was just somebody on the team that accidentally pushed the post prematurely. I don't know. But what I do know is I have just made a video this morning in which I threw Gary Gensler, the SEC, and BTC ETF insiders under the bus, stating something to the effect that they don't care at all about you. All they care about is the wealth and health of their own pockets. They're greedy, they're selfish, they will manipulate under the guise, they will masquerade under the guise of caring, compassion, protecting you. After I put out that video, the end of which I did that rant, and by the way, guys, I usually do try to avoid rants such as this. And after I put it out, I felt a little bit guilty for being so harsh. And now I'm not so sure. Maybe the video, maybe the scrutiny and judgment and harsh criticism was warranted. It just seems a little suspicious to me that literally hours before the actual ETF approval and literally hours ago, in which I produced a video warning all of you to be very careful that now we have major market manipulators in the picture, that we have this suspicious unauthorized account access of the SEC's X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, which they posted this prematurely. It smells suspicious. It smells of manipulation. And I've been at this game for a while now, guys. I've followed these tools. They all do the same. Whether you're talking economic, in our society now, this is insidiously pervasive, in which people do all of this virtual signaling masquerading with compassion and care. They have your best interest in mind, or so they claim. They want to protect you, and they say if you don't do as we say you should do, then you don't actually care about your neighbor and your friend and your mom and everybody else, whoever, it's extreme gaslighting. It's gaslighting at the next level. It's just, in my opinion, a lot of what we see today is a mass psyop. And back to economics and crypto, we are experiencing that firsthand once again in the Bitcoin and crypto space. Now, am I claiming that the SEC did this maliciously and intentionally? No, not at this point. I'm not. But what I am saying is that if we look at the record of Gary Gensler, specifically with his close relationship with scam bankman fraud, and Ellison and her dad. Actually, let me just pull up the quad, the famous quad here. Scam bankman fraud, MIT graduate. All right. Gary Gensler, head of SEC, formerly a professor at MIT. He had a relationship with Glenn Ellison, who was also a professor of economics at MIT, former boss of Gary Gensler. And of course, Glenn Ellison is Carolyn's father, who was the CEO of Alameda. And that, of course, we all know the relationship with FTX in scam bankman fraud. In my opinion, a complete lack of competence, extreme incompetence here in actually doing his job and regulating this situation. All right. Instead of being aware of what, in my opinion, Mr. Gensler should have been aware of, the money laundering that was taking place at FTX, the scam that it was, Mr. Gensler was going after small micro-cap cryptos, blockchain technologies such as Library and Odyssey, which was a video platform that could operate on the blockchain uncensored. Therefore, he took target of it, claimed it was illegal, but all the while ignoring FTX. So when a tweet comes out like this, first time in the SEC's account history on X, as far as I remember, and Gensler claims it was unauthorized access, I smell something fishy. I don't smell like that's the full truth. I smell like it's a little bit of a white lie. And with that, there could be obvious manifestation of manipulation in the market. It just doesn't seem right with me. It just doesn't sit right. Time after time, Gensler seems to attack all the very wrong people, the people he should just leave alone. Let technologies evolve, let crypto do its thing, while ignoring the big players that should be investigated. I smelled something fishy with FTX from the get-go. The amount of money that scam bankman fraud was giving to the Democratic Party was absolutely ludicrous. It was from the beginning a Ponzi scheme, a money laundering system. So then when Gary Gensler comes out with a tweet like this a few days ago, he says some things to keep in mind when you're considering investing in crypto assets, as if he cares about us, as if he is concerned for our well-being financially and economically. And then he goes on and he talks about, I'm just going to bluff it for you. Bottom line up front, he talks about regulation and how it's such a protection for investors to keep us safe, as if he cares about us. Again, I am a little bit sarcastic here because I don't believe that's the case. If it was the case, couldn't he exercise a little bit more competence in his facility to regulate and govern out of control exchanges like FTX? I mean, I knew that was a scam from the beginning. That's why I never touched it. I never once put any money into FTX. The only thing I ever did was sign up, log into the account to see what it was all about. And what I was specifically interested in was those mirrored financial facilities that mirrored stuff like Tesla. I forgot what all the mirrored cryptos were, but you could invest. I wanted a platform that I could invest both in crypto and also in stocks, and that seemed to provide that sort of facility, but I just was hesitant because I didn't trust it from the very beginning. I just saw how much money scam bankman fraud was money rolling just the most corrupt politicians, specifically in the Democratic Party. And, we know that party has just gone off the rails with their religious behavior and their sociopathic manipulation and gaslighting. Not that the Republican Party doesn't do it too. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, it all began with, blocking Bernie from the ballots, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to get all political on you, but I don't think it's too, it's not unknown that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have gone off the rails. It just so happens that the Democratic Party happens to be the party of choice used by global entities and the powers that be to manipulate our society and our people here in America with this type of pervasive and insidious misanthropic gaslighting, for lack of better words. Number 2 here, Gary Gensler talks about investments in crypto assets being extremely risky and volatile. It talks about platforms, ironically, that have become insolvent, which he, I'm sure, this is my belief, knew about way ahead of time. How can little person like me, who has a full-time job, I don't have time to investigate all. How can I know about something like this before Gary Gensler, who has these relationships with these people that run this company? That's a conspiracy I refuse to believe, guys. I just cannot believe that people are that stupid. I have a hard time with that. If people are actually that stupid who are in control of these things, I give up. I've lost faith in society. I'd rather say that they are insidious, misanthropic, and evil in their intent, because at least that can be corrected. At least that can be fixed. Stupidity of that level, you can't fix. Number 3, Gensler warns us about fraudsters continuing to exploit the rise of popularity of crypto assets to lure retail investors into scams, like his buddy Scam Bankman Fraud and his girlfriend, who was his buddy's daughter. These investments continue to be replete with fraud, bogus coin offerings, Ponzi, and pyramid schemes. Exactly my point. Which he should have been competent enough to stop, in this case at least, from everything that I know. So, of course, dripping with sarcasm, I had to reply to Mr. Gensler, and I thanked him for the heartfelt warning. And I promised him to be very careful. And I said, you're right, the industry is rife with fraudsters and money laundering crooks. And then I pointed him to this very well-known relationship between him, Scam Bankman Fraud, and his girlfriend Carolyn's father, who was his former boss. All right, so now I want to move on to this unauthorized tweet that was put out on X by U.S. Securities and Exchange. All right, so here's the tweet that was called unauthorized by Mr. Gensler. And it looks to me like this is a legitimate tweet that may have gone out tomorrow. Look at the language, look at the articulation, and doesn't it sound very Genslerish? Today, the SEC grants, not this part here, this is the SEC. We'll get to the Genslerish part. Today, the SEC grants approval for Bitcoin ETF listings on all registered national securities exchanges. The approved Bitcoin ETFs will be subject to ongoing surveillance and compliance measures to ensure continued investor protection. Here's the Gensler part. Today's approval enhances market transparency and provides investors with efficient access to digital asset investments within a regulated framework. In other words, we have control. But that sounds to me like something Gensler would say. So that definitely pumped the market a bit and then dumped the market, and all the leveraged trades were gone. Everything was washed up. If Elon Musk would have posted this, that would have definitely gone under investigation. Musk would have had to prove that this was an unauthorized account access. As it stands, the SEC put out the tweet, so they're not going to undergo any sort of investigation. All they have to do is claim that it was unauthorized access. Now, what they may do is throw Elon under the bus, saying that his platform isn't secure enough if they want to claim that it was hacked, which I'm not sure they're going to do. Maybe at some point in the future they will admit it was a premature fat finger push of the button post. I hope that is the case. But to me, it all smells extremely suspicious and shady, especially since I have been suspicious from day one of FTX. And then I saw the relationship here with Gensler. And I've been critical of Gensler for going after small cryptos and blockchains with ingenious technology that would enable free speech, uncensored platforms, uncensored tampering by the CIA and the governmental entities that force these big tech companies to censor certain items, to manipulate the society for whatever their end game is. I don't know. But this is obviously going on in our society under the guise of compassionate behavior. It's extreme gaslighting to the nth degree, and I quite personally hate it. I can't stand it. But this is why in my video today, I wanted to warn you guys how these guys work. All right. Market manipulators, they never care about you. They will act like they care about you. They will get you to buy in that regards. And then they'll rob you blind, take your wallet, take all your coin, take all your money, and leave you for dead. Hopefully this is a good lesson. Though I'm not necessarily pointing out this example as malintent or insidious behavior, but it certainly smells rife of it. Peace until the next video, y'all.